This is a little monk, a Buddhist monk in Mongolia, a sort of very pastoral society, people living in yurts. I was out on a horse. In fact, this man told me that I was the first tourist he'd seen in 2 years. And I photographed him, and he was embarrassed because of his clothing, it's so old, but it's this feeling of celebrating people and making them feel like they are special in their own way, because everybody is. And I sort of love the simplicity of these environmental portraits that, what is it? I mean, there's so much you can tell about this man, and it's interesting when you see a little modernity creep in, like a little boombox, or, then he has this Singer sewing machine. And then this couple, they were hysterical. They drink this fermented mare's milk, and it gets you drunk. And the guy, every day, I was staying with them, every day he would get really drunk on this fermented mare's milk. And his wife would get really mad and kick him out, and then he'd be in the doghouse, which is like a little yurt, and he'd be out there, and then sheepishly she would have to come and get him, because every day the camels had to be milked twice a day. So that was their dynamic. He'd get really drunk, then they'd make up, and I'm like, it was very funny. So, another thing that I just found so curious there was that they had a little solar panel, and with that, they could fire up a small little black and white TV. So in a very surreal circumstance, I was sitting there with them watching Friends. And I'm in a yurt in the middle of nowhere, and we're watching Friends, and I couldn't help but wonder, as they're packing up their yurts and taking off on their camels, are they wondering about Chandler's escapades, like as they're pulling out, and it's... So then I went out in the very far western part of Mongolia, and I had wanted to photograph this eagle festival for years, and I was so excited to get out there. And it's this festival where the men all come in their great, finery and their best fur coats, and they show off their birds. And they throw this raw piece of meat in the air, and the birds dive in, and they grab the meat, and whoever grabs it first, they win this, prize, and they pull on a goat, and it's a whole, game involved. And so it's really great. So I was photographing this festival, and then they had stopped. So I went across the field to maybe see if I could get a better picture. And out of nowhere, this horse had thrown its rider and came bolting out of nowhere and pummeled me to the ground. And I'm just slammed. I had 3 big Nikons on my shoulder, and one of them came up and actually slammed so hard it slashed my face open. So I'm now bleeding profusely. People have run down. They're trying to help me. This guy's like, "Oh my God, your face is completely split open and bleeding. You want to see it?" I'm like, no, I'm good. But there was no water. I couldn't even clean my face off. I mean, and I was really, knocked, and I'm trying to get it together, but the light was gorgeous, So I'm like, okay, tying this bandana around my eye, and I'm shooting, and, I'm like, must get the photos. And I did. I got the photos, but then I passed out. And so they determined that I had a concussion and, got me to a hospital. And you're in trouble when it's such an awful hospital. There's no windows. It's blown out. And the doctor turns and says, "Do you have anything in your medical kit that we could sew your face up with?" And I'm like, actually, I now do. So now that I carry my own sutures. But I told this story to Nikon because I said, if you look really closely, you can still see the word Nikon etched into my cheekbone. And they liked that story so much that they sponsored me. So that's how I got my Nikon equipment. That's what you have to go through for these people.